Hi everybody, welcome to my masterclass. Today I'm going to show you 3 beautiful recipes from my new cookbook, Simple Healthy Recipes. They are delicious. The Perfect Focaccia, both a beautiful spelt one and a gluten-free version as well. Pillowy, beautiful ricotta gnocchi, and last but not least, Teresa's tiramisu, my luscious tiramisu, fluffy, it's gluten-free as well, and it's delicious. So here we go. Let's get started. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to make my perfect focaccia. This is the perfect pillowy, beautiful focaccia. And first you need 500 grams of spelt flour. You're going to need 1 teaspoon of sea salt. You're going to have a packet of dried yeast. Now, I'm going to use yeast and I'm going to use baking powder in this one as well, because the baking powder gives it the lift, and the yeast and the combination of the yeast and the baking powder is magnificent. It is beautiful. So I'm going to throw that all in, just a packet of yeast. Now we're going to give it a mix. And 2 teaspoons of baking powder. 1, 2. And now mixing through the dry ingredients. Now, the second most important thing when making this focaccia is the hydration and the amount of water you add to this mix. Now, I use a high hydration method, meaning that you need a lot of water, between 80 to 100%. So, for 500 grams of flour, I'm using around 400 ml. You can do 500, but 400 ml of room temperature water or tepid water. So I'm just measuring out 400 ml here, pouring that all in, nice and easy. 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. So let's just measure that in. 1, 2, and 1 more. 3. And just to give it a little bit of a kick, 2 tablespoons of raw honey. Now this is going to make the focaccia taste delicious. Little timer going on. This is going to make the focaccia taste delicious, but it's also going to help feed that yeast as well. And it's going to make it all pillowy and fluffy and gorgeous. So straight away, I'm putting into my stand mixer. Now, check this out, guys. Have a look at this. So this is the most important part, as well as mixing it. So when it starts to come together, you'll notice it's a really wet dough. It's unlike a pizza dough or anything like that, where it's a little bit more compact. This is very, very loose. It starts off with a quite runny dough, but then after around about 10 minutes, it comes together as the gluten starts to develop. And I'm mixing it, you'll notice I'm mixing it with a paddle attachment as well, not a dough hook. This is really important. This helps to aerate and get some air bubbles into the dough as well. Well, what's happening is this is going to mix for 10 minutes. This is going to mix for 10 minutes until the gluten starts to develop into the actual dough, because it's quite a wet dough. It takes a bit of time. It's unlike a pizza dough where you've already got a dough pretty much formed. It's almost ready because I can start to see the dough starting to pull away from the actual bowl. So you'll actually start to see it come together. It starts to keep on mixing. You'll actually know the dough will start to pull away from the sides and into the middle. It'll start to pull away from the sides and into the middle, and actually start to form a lovely, beautiful little mound in the middle. Just, I'm slowing it down a little bit. See, as the dough comes away from the sides, this is the secret moment. This is the magic. When your focaccia dough is ready. Look at that, it's beautiful, it's glutinous. Now I'm going to put some gloves on for this because I don't want to get my hands all dirty. But this is the time here where you'll know that your dough is ready. It's starting to pull away Look at that, it's beautiful. And with oiled hands, it's better with oiled hands, just to help pull the dough away from that paddle. Look at that. Oh, magnificent. Let me show you. It's beautiful, the dough's gorgeous, the gluten's developed, and it's a nice wet dough. Now, with this dough, you can do two things. I like to make my focaccia the night before. Now remember, the night before, and prove this whole thing in the fridge. You can obviously, you can prove it on the day, you can bake it on the day like a traditional bread, prove it for 2 hours and bake it, but for a better flavour and for better complexity, it's better the night before. So cover this with cling film and put it in the fridge. So I'm going to cover it with cling film in a minute. You put it in the fridge overnight, and this comes out of the fridge. So check this out. I've covered it with cling film, left it overnight. It's tripled in size. Look at this. How amazing is that? So this is great. It's developed, the flavour and the complexity is unbelievable. So from that, we have put this into an oiled 30 by 25 centimetre cake tin. Now you can put it in a cake tin, you can even put it into a baking tray, a sheet pan tray, it doesn't matter, it'll still be beautiful. So have a look at this, I've put it into one of these, I've let it sit for another 30 to 40 minutes, and I'm putting a little bit of olive oil over the top. Now this is the stage where you can dress up your focaccia, you can put cherry tomatoes, you can put pesto, you can put ricotta, or simply just a bit of oregano, which I'm going to do now. So get my oregano, bit of olive oil, little bit of oregano. Now come in here, have a look at this. Look at these little air pockets that have formed. How cool does this look? This looks amazing. Now this is going to go into the oven for 20 minutes, about 190 to 200 degrees centigrade for around about 20 minutes and no more. So let's whack that in there. I'll set the timer. Now whilst that's baking, put that aside. Now, whilst that's baking, I'm going to show you how to make the gluten-free version, and you won't believe how magnificent this is. So in here, I've got 500 grams of gluten-free cup for cup flour. Use whatever flour you want to use. Same thing again. 1 teaspoon of sea salt, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and we're going to give this a bit of a mix, as well as 1 packet of yeast. So that's around about 8 grams of yeast in there. Now, once again, we're going to give this a great mix until just everything combines. And exactly like you did with your spelt focaccia, we're going to add water. Now this one here, it's not 400 ml, it's 500 ml, so it's cup for cup, 500 ml of flour, 500 grams of flour, 500 ml of water. So I'm just measuring that through. A little bit more. Now this dough is going to be life-changing. You wait. So you're pouring that in from there. Now, same thing again with the olive oil, but this time we're adding about 4 tablespoons of olive oil and not 3, like what we did with the other focaccia. So 3, 1 more, 4, beautiful. And once again, just a few tablespoons of raw honey. Wonderful, beautiful. Now have a look at this. Now we're mixing this, you can mix it with a paddle attachment as well, but you can also just mix it with a spoon. So, and I'm mixing it until it comes together. And what you'll actually see the flour starts to drink up all that liquid as well. So it may look a little bit wet from the beginning, but it won't. It will all start to come together and absorb. Check this out. You just need to give it a good mix. Now you can use any gluten-free flour you like for this. Most of them work really fine, so whichever one you're used to using. And give it a good mix, just get any lumps out. Like I said, you can use a mix master for this, but I just like using my hands, good exercise. Beautiful. Now with this dough here, you can do the same thing. You can put it in the fridge overnight, or you can just make it exactly the same thing, exactly on the same day. But you need to give it at least 2 to 3 hours to rise, because gluten-free dough just takes a little bit slower. Beautiful. Now once we've got that, same thing. I have put it into a lined 25 by 25 centimetre tray. Now make sure to oil the tray up, or the baking dish. Now we're going to put this in. And you'll notice this will like triple in size. This is the most amazing dough. And so with a spoon, just spread it out with a spoon. Nothing fancy, because it'll all work out beautifully in the end. Now what happens after about 2 to 3 hours is that the dough triples in size. It is spectacular, guys. You'll notice that, here's one that I've done earlier. Look at this one. This is beautiful. This is spectacular. It's risen twice or 3 times higher than normal. You've got little air pockets in here as well, because what I've actually done, I've drizzled it with a little bit of olive oil, and that's what you do with it beforehand as well. And then just with your fingers, nothing, you don't want to do it too much because you'll deflate the dough. It's best to do it before you start in the beginning like that. So this goes into the same temperature oven, 200 degrees for 20 minutes, but not before. I'm just going to sprinkle the top just with some oregano. Beautiful, done. And this goes into the oven, 20 minutes. Oh wow, this is looking fantastic. And just in a few seconds, I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. Okay, check this out. Here they are, they're out of the oven. Now, I've taken them out of the oven and I've let them cool for around about 30 minutes. You don't want to let them, you want to have focaccia straight out of the oven. It's just going to be too hot, it's going to be too gluey. You want to let it sit and calm down and relax and just have it nice and warm and beautiful. And check this out, look at that. This is the gluten-free version, which is totally unbelievable. Look at this, and I just want to cut it and I just want to show you. Actually, let me cut it this way so you can see it. Look at this. How amazing. Look, there's steam still coming out of this. It is beautiful, it is delicious. And so how I would probably serve this is I'd serve it in nice little chunks. Dip it in some beautiful extra virgin olive oil or some gorgeous balsamic vinegar or some pesto. Look at that, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. Dip it in, swirl it around, serve and enjoy. And you know what? This bread will keep for around about 3 to 4 days in the fridge. So enjoy in a sandwich. You can enjoy it anytime as a toast. You can even enjoy with some beautiful fresh figs and a little bit of goat's cheese as well, which is fantastic as well, which I love. But that's the gluten-free version. How delicious and cool is that? It is totally unbelievable. So this is life-changing. And just let me show you the spelt version. Look at this. It's lovely, it's pillowy, the same thing, guys. This is totally beautiful, and you'll never buy a store-bought focaccia ever again. Look at that, soft, beautiful, lovely. If you come in close, you can almost eat it. It is totally fantastic. Just tear it over, just tear it up, cut it up. Same thing, serve it with a bit of extra virgin olive oil, serve it with a little bit of pesto, some fresh figs, whatever you want. Stuff it with a sandwich and have it for breakfast. But it is beautiful. So there you go. My two lovely versions of focaccia, both traditional and a lovely gluten-free version. I hope you enjoy. I'm going to make my beautiful, pillowy, luscious, gluten-free ricotta gnocchi from my cookbook, Simple Healthy Recipes. Now these gnocchi are life-changing, they taste delicious, and they are perfect, and they only take about 10 to 15 minutes to make. So perfect for a weeknight dinner or when you're entertaining with friends as well. So I'm going to start off with the sauce first, and then I'm going to move on down to show you how to make the gnocchi. So sauce is pretty much simple. So in a pan, I've got a few tins of chopped organic tomatoes. Now making sure that you use really good quality tin tomatoes for this sauce is really, really important. So I'm just going to pop that into a pan, put it onto a nice gentle heat to start off with around about a cup of water. So pouring that in, a few cloves of garlic, nothing too crazy. It's a really simple sauce, takes 10 minutes to make. And my little secret ingredient, a nice little generous knob of butter. Now this is going to help make the sauce velvety and creamy and luscious. So what we're going to do, we're just going to bring it up over a nice gentle heat till it comes to the boil. Turn it down to a simmer and then reduce that and simmer that for around about 10 minutes until it thickens up a little bit. So whilst that's going on, let's move over here for my ricotta gnocchi. Now, there is a secret to ricotta gnocchi that a lot of people don't know, and it's all to do with the ricotta. So make sure whatever you riken ricotta you get, it's got to be firm. The firm one from the basket or a good quality firm one without too much liquid. Now, if it's got a lot of liquid in it, it's not going to work out, or you need to drain that liquid overnight. So I've got a couple of tubs here, and you'll notice, check this out, check how dry this is. So there's not much liquid in this ricotta, which is how you need them, because the less liquid, the less flour you use, and the more pillowy and fluffier your ricotta gnocchi is. So that's my secret. So now I'm going to put some gloves on for this because we're going to be needing that later. And trying to get my hands dirty. So you've got around 500 grams of ricotta, between 500 and 600 grams. I've made a little bit more because I know the team are going to enjoy this when we finish filming this video. So they've requested a little bit extra. So between 1 or 2 organic eggs, I'm going to use a couple here because I can just tell by how the ricotta feels. So when you're cooking, it's really important to go with your eye as well. I've got a recipe, embellish it, take it, and see what else it needs as well. So you've got 2 organic eggs here, a nice generous pinch of salt. We've got a few tablespoons, about 60 grams of grated parmesan here, nothing too crazy, and we're going to mix it. So making sure that you're just mixing the eggs through the ricotta so it all combines first. So it's pretty simple, straightforward. Look at that, lovely, luscious, and making sure they're really mixed in well. Beautiful. Here we go, starting to come together now. Now, if your ricotta was really, really wet, this would not work. So making sure to get that ricotta from the basket or get really good quality firm ricotta. Now, once that's done, check this out, have a look in here. So I'm going to add around about between 80 to 100 grams of flour. So, but I normally eyeball it because I sort of like, I can tell how much it needs just by how the dough feels. But if you're weighing it out, just have a look. Start off with 80 grams and see how that looks. Give it a good mix it through. Now with this one I'm using a gluten-free flour. You can use any other flour you want. If you want to use a spelt flour, if you want to use a Tipo Zero flour, by all means it'll work out and it'll be delicious. So here we go. A little bit extra. Now that's all combined really well. I can tell it just needs a touch more. So I'll mix that through. Here we go. Got my sauce bubbling away now. It's very nice. It's looking good. It's looking good. Just give it a bit of a mix. As that will start to reduce as well. Perfect. Now back to the ricotta. Here we go. Beautiful. Now this looks fabulous. I can tell it's still soft. It's not too dry, but it's just perfect. So, stage one. Stage two, a little bit of flour onto your board or onto your working bench. And we're going to tip this whole thing onto the board like this. Beautiful, lovely, luscious. Scraping everything out. Putting that aside. Yeah, let me just go do this. And that, can you see that? Beautiful, fantastic. Look at that, it's lovely. The dough is so lovely and luscious and soft. Come inside and have a look. It's beautiful. So I'm just going to divide that dough into about 4 manageable little working bits. And rolling it out onto my floured board ever so gently. Look at that. Luscious, beautiful. So I'm using a gluten-free flour to dust, but you can also use a nice rice flour as well, which works perfectly, and it's a little bit coarser too, so it's nice. So here we go. Now as your gnocchi start to get a little bit long, feel free to cut it again and just work on small bits at a time. That way it doesn't get too overwhelming for you. There you go. One other bit as well. And we're going to continue on by just doing your nice little delicate little logs. This is how my chocha used to make it. We grew up with potato gnocchi called kopitka when I was growing up, and this is my little chocha board. And it's something that my uncle made, my great uncle made many, many years ago. And it's perfect for making gnocchi or pastry. So here we go, one more. Give my sauce a bit of a stir. And at the same time, I've actually got a little pot of water here that I'm bringing to the boil as well. So that's going to come to the boil very, very soon. Okay, a little bit more flour. Here we go, here we go. Nice, easy, beautiful. There we go. One more little log here. Another little log here. Perfect. One more lot. Just big enough to do all of these, which is fantastic. Now this will feed around 4 people, which is great. And the great thing about this, they keep well for the next day. So if you wanted to reheat it the next day, you could. Almost there, almost there. Here we go. And one more lot. Perfect. They're almost ready. Now, don't start cooking your gnocchi until your sauce is ready. Now, that's a big key thing for this. So, because the actual gnocchi are going to go straight into the sauce. So, I'm just bringing my water to the boil now. And I'm just having a look at my sauce. Now, this is the time with the sauce as well, you taste for seasoning. Now, I haven't salted this yet, so I'm just going to add a little bit of salt. And you also want to add a little bit of salt into your cooking water as well. So just like pasta, you salt your gnocchi cooking water. That's really important as well. Give it a nice little mix. And give it a taste. Let's have a look. It's tasting lovely. It needs a little bit more salt, not too much, but I'm also going to add just a few basil leaves in here as well, just to infuse some of the flavour. Doesn't need any sugar. If your tomato sauce is a little bit acidic, you can add a little bit of maple, a little bit of honey, a little bit of raw sugar to that to balance out the actual tartness and the acidity of the tomato sauce, but this one's fine. Here we go. Now I'm going to turn this down just to a nice little simmer. The sauce is almost ready. It's beautiful. Now you'll see this, my water's come to the boil as well, so I'm just going to turn that down ever so slightly. And this is the fun bit. Come around here, check this out. So you've got your gnocchi, it's all ready, your water's boiling, sauce is bubbling away. It's all going to come together in one big symphony, okay? So this is great. Have a look at this. Come in close. Just with floured. You can do this with a knife as well. You don't have to have one of these little cutters. So I'm just going to cut a few of these at a time. Just get them to the side. Do a few more. And like I said, if you haven't got one of these, you can just use a little normal knife. That's fine too. Just making sure that it's floured between hand. Okay, now here we go. We're going to cook some gnocchi. Drop them into the water, nice and quick. Spread them out a little bit. The temperature's a nice medium boil. And they're going to sit there for around about a minute or so, and then they're going to rise to the surface. And it's going to be magical. So I've got two things to remove my gnocchi with. I've got a slotted spoon, 2 lots, one of these or one of these. Up to you which one you use. But the whole point of this is to let the water drain from the spoon and directly into the sauce. So that's really important too. Give my sauce a little bit of a mix. Here we go, come and have a look. Come and have a little look. Here they are. They're coming to the surface slowly. Now, a big mistake that most people do when they're making their gnocchi is they either undercook it or they overcook it. You've got to know that in between time, if you undercook it, they're going to be gluey and doughy in the middle. If you overcook it, they're going to fall apart and turn into slops. So you don't want that either. So it's really important, as soon as they come to the surface, give them around about 30 more seconds or so. Allow them to cook a little bit more, simmer away a little bit more, and then you can put them into the sauce directly. And why is that? So I'm just going to let that cook just a tiny bit more and cut a few more of these. It's almost there. Here we go. And you can turn your sauce down even a little bit more. Look at that, beautiful. And you just let them finish off in the sauce ever so slightly. Just be gentle. I might just turn this off for a bit whilst I do the rest of the gnocchi. You don't want it to overcook, so I've just turned my sauce off. This is still going on, and I'm just going to cook the rest of this gnocchi, and then we'll bring the sauce up to a bit of a simmer. So we'll do this again. Now, you have to be prepared when you make these gnocchi, but once you've got everything set up and prepared, it's a breeze. So like I said, 15 minutes and you'll have delicious, beautiful ricotta gnocchi. Here we go, one more time. And like I said, whatever flour you want to use, I've used a beautiful gluten-free flour for these gnocchi, but you can use a spelt flour, you can even use a 00 flour, whatever one you enjoy. So these are almost ready to go. These are bubbling up almost. So it's all going to come together. I can't wait. The team here at The Healthy Chef are going to very much enjoy lunch today once we finish shooting these. Now these are from my new book, Simple Healthy Recipes. This book is life-changing. The book's 300 recipes, 300 recipes that are quick, easy, simple, budget-friendly and healthy and delicious. So grab yourself a copy. Here we go. They're all coming together, starting to rise to the surface. Look at that. How brilliant does this look? Just like my chocha and her little kopitkas, these are my little ricotta gnocchis. There we go. And one more lot. Happy days. Nice and easy. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Not much mess at all. There you go. Now we're going to let them bubble away. Grab a tea towel, wash my hands. There we go. Now, I'm turn my stove on a little bit more and just let that bubble away a little bit. Now for a bit of extra lusciousness when you serve these gnocchi, you can just serve them with a bit of Parmesan cheese. You can put a bit of pesto on them, which is fantastic as well. You can even put a little bit of creme fraiche or a bit of Greek yogurt on there too, which is fantastic. But look at that, the rest of my gnocchi have rising to the surface. This is bubbling away. Now you don't want to stir these too much. Just want to give them a bit of a shake. They'll slowly cook away and bubble away in the sauce nice, just towards the end. And I'm putting in that last little bit here. Beautiful. Yum. Nice, quick and easy. There we go. Perfect. Now, that's done. This is done. Just a few more seconds. And we have the most amazing, I've just turned my sauce off, you have the most amazing gnocchi. Now, check this out. This is how I'm going to serve it. Now, this is 4 lovely, generous servings. So, fantastic. Just in your favourite bowl. Now, what am I going to use? Here we go. Lovely. Beautiful. Oh, spectacular. Just let me wipe this plate. Okay, so come over here. Let's have a look. Let me make some room. Actually, let's just go in here. Let's just go right in. Some nice fresh basil and some parmesan. So, just to serve, a little bit more parmesan cheese. It's a nice fresh basil over the top. And like I said, you could even do pesto, which is also very delicious. Enjoy with a spoon. Beautiful, lovely, pillowy, gluten-free ricotta gnocchi from my cookbook, Simple Healthy Recipes. Enjoy. If you want to look really fancy, or if you just want to impress anybody with this magnificent dessert, you have to make Teresa's tiramisu, my luscious, beautiful, gluten-free tiramisu that's delicious and so impressive. Oh my God, it's fantastic. Check this out. It starts off with a beautiful gluten-free chiffon cake that I have in the cookbook, Simple Healthy Recipes. It's my new book and it's lovely and luscious and gorgeous. And you use about half a chiffon cake for every tiramisu, so the other half you can just enjoy it with a cup of tea later on. But check this out. Look how light and fluffy and gorgeous this is beautiful. So that's going to make part of my tiramisu. So make it the day before and enjoy the rest with a cup of tea. So you've got that, you've got the chiffon cake. Now make sure, the important thing to do when making this tiramisu is to get all your elements ready. So you need a sabayon, you need your meringue, and you basically need your coffee and your sponge and everything else. So I'm going to show you and take you through this process, but it's very simple and it's easy. So first we're going to separate 6 organic eggs. So making sure the whites go into a mixing bowl without dropping any yolks into the whites. And being ever so careful, because any bit of fat in the egg whites, your egg whites aren't going to whip. So just taking your time and making sure to separate these eggs properly. Beautiful. 3, 4. Now it's really good that your eggs are room temperature as well. That way your egg whites are going to whip beautifully. 5, 6. Beautiful. All without breaking any yolks. Fantastic. Okay, so that's one part. Next up, so you've got 6 egg yolks in here. So in here, we're going to measure in 60 ml of masala. Now, yes, you can use Kahlua, you can use another coffee flavoured liqueur, but I love masala in this and it's fantastic. It's traditional and it's beautiful. So 60 ml of masala. You've got 50 grams of raw sugar. This is going to be your sabayon. So get your pot of water, get it simmering away, and over a gentle heat, having a look, so it's come to the boil. Nothing too crazy. Now this is going to take a little bit of leg work. Nice exercise for your arms, but it's good. So you're going to mix it until the egg yolks are going to cook ever so slightly and become thick and luscious and gorgeous and ribbony. And you can't stop mixing, you've got to keep mixing. It's a true sabayon under a nice pot of hot simmering water. Now you don't want to let the bottom get too hot as well. And you don't want to cook and scramble your egg yolks. So this is one of the most important parts in this recipe. Having a look at this. It's slowly starting to warm up and my egg yolks are becoming creamy and luscious. Soon they'll start to thicken up too, which is really, really good. If you want to swap hands, you can swap hands if your hand's getting tired. So, here we go. Lovely, beautiful, gorgeous. Look at that. It's starting to change colour. Here we go. It's almost coming together. Having a look. Going nice and close. It's thickening up. Look at that. You just want to bring it to the point so it doesn't scramble, but it thickens. Look at that. How unbelievable is that? And it smells fantastic. There you go. It's starting to come away from the bottom. And it's looking creamy and ribbony and beautiful. Now this is the first part of your recipe. Now what's really important is I've just set it onto a bowl of ice. I need that cooling. The second part to this recipe is the coffee. So I've got around about a cup of good quality espresso. And by espresso I mean from a coffee machine or from one of your little stovetop coffee machines, but you need about a cup to a cup and a half. And to sweeten it, I'm just going to add 60 ml of organic maple syrup. That's all you need, nothing else. You can use raw sugar too if you want to, or coconut sugar. Just give it a bit of a mix. If you want, you can put a bit of vanilla in there as well, just a touch. And you can even put some masala in there. But I'm just putting coffee, a little bit of vanilla, and a little bit of maple. So that's your second part to this recipe. So you've got the cool sabayon happening, you've got this happening here, you've got lovely sponge cake. And what we're going to do with this sponge, or with this beautiful chiffon cake, is we're going to chop it up before we actually start assembling all of this. And the egg whites will come again in a minute as well. So we've got a beautiful chiffon cake that I'm going to slice up. Ever so thinly. Like this. You can also break it up with your hands, but I like to know that it's all sliced up nice and evenly so you get a nice beautiful mouthful in each one. So have a look at this. There's my lovely fluffy chiffon cake. Beautiful, gorgeous. So you've got that happening. Now I've got my egg whites here. To that, I'm going to add a pinch of salt. And we're going to whip these just until they're ever so light and fluffy. With 100 grams of raw sugar. But start adding the sugar just until the egg whites start to become fluffy. At the same time, my sabion's cooling down. Looking fantastic. Adding that touch of salt is really important when you're making meringue or any type of egg white. Helps with the lifting as well, helps make it fluffier. Here we go, just a little bit of raw sugar at a time. Nothing too crazy. As it starts to dissolve and come together. There we go. Maybe about a minute or so, just until the sugar dissolves into the egg whites. Become beautiful, fluffy and pillowy like a meringue. Here we go. It'll be nice and white and light and fluffy. Now you don't want to over whip these, just until it becomes light, fluffy and gorgeous. So that's my next component is the egg white. So you've got that here. Everything's ready to assemble. Now in the book, in my new cookbook, Simple Healthy Recipes, I'm using a lovely little trifle dish. But you can make this into any dish you want. If you want them into individual glasses, if you want them into a baking dish, that's fine too, and set it in the fridge, whatever one you want, or whichever one you have at home, basically. So I've got my cooled sabayon, and I've got ricotta. I've got 500 grams of good quality ricotta in here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to mix the ricotta and the sabayon together. So here we go. It's lovely, smooth and creamy. Now if your ricotta is not smooth, it's important you use smooth ricotta for this, as opposed to like a mascarpone cheese that you traditionally use in like a tiramisu. But if your ricotta is not smooth and if it's grainy, just put it in the food processor for a few minutes until it gets nice and smooth. So give that a nice mix, and we're going to use a whisk to that as well. Here we go. And make it combine. Look at that. Lovely, luscious, beautiful. Now, my secret to this lovely tiramisu, instead of using cream like traditional versions, I use beautiful fluffy egg whites. It makes it so light, so beautiful, so irresistible, you will love it. So just add about a quarter of the egg whites into your sabayon first up. And I want to fold it in with a spoon just to maintain the lovely airiness. Now remember, this tiramisu is going to set overnight in the fridge, or at least for about 6 hours. So it's really important to allow that setting time, that time to develop. So it's a great idea to make it the day before. Here we go. Let's add the rest of them. Beautiful, lovely, silky meringue. Luscious. Okay, now we're doing that as well, and we're folding that through. Beautiful, nice folding motions. Look at that. Fluffy, delicious. Come inside, check it out, have a look at it. Look at that. Not heavy, beautiful, light and delicious. So after eating it, you're going to feel fantastic. It's not going to weigh you down, and this is beautiful. I can guarantee you people are going to say this is the best tiramisu they have ever tasted. So you've got your lovely sabayon, you've got your ricotta mix here, you've got your sponge and you've got your coffee. Now time for the assembly. Actually, I also need, here we go. In here, check this out as well. I've got some grated dark chocolate. Now, by grated dark chocolate, I mean a really good quality dark chocolate. I've used, what have I used here? I just use one of these Lindt little sea salt ones and just grate it on a grater. So that's what I've used for this one here. But this is going to give you a lovely fine little grate, and that's going to form part of this tiramisu as well. So layer the bottom level. Perfect. Lovely. One more. If you want to as well, you can even break up your sponge as well. Okay. Now in here goes half of the coffee syrup. So I'm just going to pour half over, making sure that you cover the sponge generously all the way through. Now, like I said, if you need more coffee, by all means, get some more coffee. So that's the first part. Now, a few nice little spoonfuls of this gorgeous grated dark chocolate. That's just going to melt into the sabayon, and it's just going to be amazing the next day. So half of this beautiful pillowy sabayon mixture with the ricotta. Look how gorgeous this is. You just eat this from a spoon straight away. spectacular is this? Now making sure to spread that evenly. Maybe one more. And then we go again with the sponge. Oh, the team at The Healthy Chef are going to love this. They've been looking forward to this pretty much all day. Now make this the day before, guys. It's important to do that. And allow that time for setting. And once again, what we're going to do is just a little bit of the coffee syrup. Making sure it all soaks through nice into the sponge. How amazing is that? Beautiful. Okay. And so you might as well just finish it off here. Yeah, beautiful. And just a little bit more. Okay, so we've got that. This is to die for. This is honestly the best tiramisu you will ever make in your life. Just pile it up to as much as you can, or as much as your dish will hold. And it even looks really, really cool. It just flattens out nicely, but you don't even have to flatten it out. Look how beautiful it looks just like that. So last but not least, just a nice, generous little dusting of grated dark chocolate. Now don't use cocoa powder in this, just use grated dark chocolate. So much nicer. Beautiful. Now, set this in the fridge overnight. And when it comes out, here's one that I made earlier. It's not quite as high as this one. This one's a lot better, but you'll get to see that it's had time to set. Have a look. I'll get a serving plate. Check it out. It's had time to develop into the most glorious dessert ever. Beautiful, healthy. Teresa's, or slightly healthy, Teresa's tiramisu from my cookbook, Simple Healthy Recipes. It's gluten-free, it's light, fluffy, delicious, and your friends will love it. Enjoy. And there you go, 3 simple recipes from my cookbook, Simple Healthy Recipes. The Perfect Focaccia, lush ricotta gnocchi, and Teresa's tiramisu. All lovely. Your friends are going to love it. You're going to love it. Enjoy.